Good day, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. We think we've got a really interesting series of conversations we're going to have about the ever-popular AI, agentic collaboration, and agentic memory. We have a super panel of technologists who can talk about the notion of agentic collaboration and agentic memory. And we have business people who are in the trenches providing solutions for people who want AI, who want agentic AI, and are looking to be able to use agentic collaboration in a better way than what's in the marketplace right now. And quite frankly, do it fundamentally better from a safety, privacy, and governance perspective. We are going to tackle three topics today. The first is the tyranny of silos, and that's just the notion that so many functional organizations in a company do not work together well. And so we're going to highlight the need for company functional and cross-company agent connectivity and agent collaboration. And then we're going to talk about how there's a critical need for a differentiated process that facilitates smarter governance, security, and privacy, which are all top of mind for people working in the generative AI and AI space. We're going to take about 8-9 minutes for each person to be able to cover the particular areas. We're going to have about a 15-minute time at the end of the session for questions. And we're hoping that you will start asking questions and put comments up. So please feel free to ask questions anytime. Alex is going to be seeing the Queen of England at 11:30 Chicago time. So he's going to have to disappear for a few minutes. So he might well be taking questions just a little bit before that. So if you've got questions for Alex, please do that. He'll be getting his knighthood today. So we're all going to congratulate him on that. Let's talk a little bit about the people that we've got on board here. We've got Eric Hellebrand, who's CEO of Intellex. Eric has been around the technology, the AI space for many years. He's been a visionary across many solutions. And he is the person, and his company is the person that provides the agentic collaboration. Alex is CEO of Aurora, and they built a very unusual capability with Next to be able to facilitate a blockchain capability to be able to drive financial sharing, but now data and analytics sharing, which is critical in a collaboration arena. We have our business people include Sam Iosevich. Sam is Chief Analytics Officer and Managing Partner at Parker Avery Group. That's a consulting organization that focuses on retail and CP. And Sam operates the analytics business that has got some really interesting solutions. One of them is demand forecasting. So we'll talk about demand forecasting and the implications of how collaboration can get a much better forecast and fundamentally impact a whole series of business decisions. Gary Hawkins is CEO of MindStep. He and I have known each other for far too long. He is one of the people that really started the whole loyalty proposition back around the year of 2000. He's been a retailer, so he knows things from the ground up. He'll be talking about personalization and the notion of how personalization works, how it can be improved from an agentic perspective, but also what the implications are for agencies as you think about the collaboration process. Jim Friedman has been around almost as long as Gary Hawkins. He's CEO of mapc2.ai. They're an interesting company who really help both CPGs, consumer product companies, and retailers coordinate their activities around retail media, which clearly require smart collaboration. And then finally, we have Tony Arnold. And Tony is CEO of a company called Brown Bacon. I'll say that again, Brown Bacon, because that's such an unusual name. And he is doing some really interesting work in the areas of autonomous social media marketing and customer experience. He'll focus on those things, but his remit is a lot broader than that. So that's the team we've got for you today. So we're going to open it up first on the technology side. And Eric, I wondered if you wouldn't mind spending 45 seconds on how you enable smart intra-company agentic workflow from a process collaboration perspective.
Sure. I think I'm going to take more than 45 seconds because I think it's important for the audience to understand sort of the perspective that all of us are going to come at this topic today with. And that is that when people think about organizations, they think about organizations, they'd like to think about organizations as everybody in a rowboat rowing in the same direction and rowing in the same way at the same cadence and same pace. And in reality, some of the major problems that face businesses is the fact that there's not a single rowboat, but actually multiple rowboats that are all rowing in perhaps oftentimes very different directions. And so when we think about an organization that has multiple rowboats that are rowing in different directions, and we think about overlaying agents on top of that, are agents going to help the rowboats row in the same direction, or are agents going to in fact cause more rowboats to be deployed in the water, and then there are more directions that the rowboats are going to be rowing in. And so when we think about collaboration, what we're really talking about is how do we use agents not only to automate workflows that might already exist within an organization, but how do we allow agents and support agents to enable those organizations to row in the same direction? And so intra-company is really about the different functional areas within an organization, each in their own rowboat, getting agents to help those different functional areas like procurement or supply chain or category management or sales marketing. How do we get agents to help improve the way those different rowboats that have historically been moving in the different directions, how do we get them to align and move in the same way so that incentives, decisions, and even ways that problems are solved in an entirely new way, making sure that those different functional rowboats end up rowing in the same direction.
And do you want to jump in and talk a little bit about cross-company? Because it seems like we've not only got rowboats, but a fleet of rowboats that we're trying to coordinate.
Yeah. So if a company is working with other companies, so if you're a manufacturer and you have distributors or you have retailers that are representing your product, you can think about that rowboat metaphor just at another level, which is your retail partners. If you're a manufacturer, you're rowing in rowboats, but your retail partners are actually flying in airplanes. So how do you coordinate manufacturing and distribution, or distribution and retail across that supply chain? How do you ensure that everybody is moving in the same direction? But most importantly, and what I think Alex will talk about, is that privacy security becomes critically important, because no company, and sometimes even within companies, is everyone going to open up the kimono, to use that expression, and expose what is proprietary or unique or special.
Exactly. And in today's day and age, that's a critical issue across companies. Alex, do you want to talk a little bit about how your blockchain approach will enable workflow process collaboration?
Yeah, so that's a pretty interesting topic and big topic to discuss. In general, from my point of view, what we see in the AI space is clearly that there are lots of agents that are out there Probably many people have already tried to build their own agents with an A10 or with the newly released ChatGPT's or OpenAI's agent kit, right? And the very important thing there is that what you usually find right away, that it's better for you to store something from this agent's workflows, at least to keep a track of what actions have been taken, and maybe remember the proper ways how to operate with other entities, including other agents or other workflows. So, and then the question is where to store this data. And it's pretty important that for businesses that they're not sharing this data, so they want this to be private for them. However, maybe businesses, they actually don't have the proper places to host the models, and then now they need to trust the third-party providers to have the stored data. So are we all trusting OpenAI in a way that they're just not going to misuse this data? Well, they're kind of even paying you with the credits for using this data, but who knows if you're clicking that they're not going to use your data, but maybe they're using this. I hope they not, but the proper approach to this would be to create systems that would allow for control over the data sharing and the data access. And this is a straightforward way how to deliver this. Thankfully, NEAR is working in the direction of that is called the DCML, or decentralized confidential machine learning. And though we're not touching right here, right now, the aspect of decentralized machine learning and how to train AIs in a decentralized manner. So this is a little bit outside of the scope, but confidentiality is the crucial piece, and it is extremely important. Confidential agent frameworks that would allow for interoperability in between the agents through sharing the data, sharing some specific accesses to this data, are crucial for the future of the economy and agentic economy in particular. That's why any research and any directional development in this area is extremely important and crucial for our well-being in the future.
Thank you. As you said, data security and governance is just critical for agent collaboration. Can you talk a little bit about how the NEAR stack solves these problems, and what are the technical advantages of the NEAR stack?
Yeah. So the crucial part of the NEAR stack is the usage of very specific hardware systems that are called trusted execution environments, or enclaves. They usually also refer to it like that. And the idea behind this is that modern GPUs as well as CPUs, they have an ability to enter a very specific compute mode where the application is protected from the outside. And because of these limitations on the hardware side, the data that these enclaves are operating is kept encrypted outside of the execution. So the data is encrypted, is somewhere out there, and then when the application enters this trusted execution environment, now it has some keys that are able to decrypt this data. And also there are additional ways for this application to prove that it is working inside of this trusted execution environment. These proofs are also called attestations. And through this, the outside observer and the entity that is interacting with this application is able to actually be sure that this is working inside of it. So on the hardware level, these pieces are available, and what NEAR is doing is ensuring that it is wrapped in a proper platform that is accessible by others, as well as there are multiple additional points on economics of the operators of these trusted execution environments, because the next step here from this point would be, hey, I would like to have my model, my AI agent, to be running on a third-party computer, though I don't want the operator of this computer to know everything that is inside. So how we're going to do this. Like, we probably need to pay some money to this third party, and the blockchain comes here as a very natural provider of this value transfer use case here. So together, blockchain is instilling the agentic economy layer. And if we're going to add this confidential machine learning on top of this is something that really brings scalability to the agentic use cases across the world, and making it more decentralized and more spread out across different computational facilities.
Got it. So I think you kind of laid a picture out there for what the solution looks like, but for everybody, you end up with the typical questions of why are you better, why are you faster, and why are you much cheaper?
Yeah, I mean, the cost on compute is something that is out there. The question is how well the solution is working. Near protocol today marks their 5th anniversary of the mainnet. So congratulations to Near for this. Over the past 5 years, Near has been both delivering on their promises on the roadmap development and the scalability of the protocol. So at the moment, Near is built as a sharded protocol, which means that there are quite a lot of compute capabilities on the protocol level. And besides delivering on this promise, within the 5 years, the mainnet of Near didn't skip a bit. There were no stops, and I'm pretty sure that there are not a lot of blockchains in the world who are able to say absolutely the same, and especially protocols that are not having any stops since the start of the mainnet. I actually don't know any of the protocols who didn't have any stops since the start of the mainnet, except for Near. So I do believe that Near shows the exceptional technological advantages and the experience in delivering high throughput, high load solutions within the most complicated, decentralized, and distributed systems. Besides that, the Near protocol is extremely cheap. So just combining these things together, I do believe that Near provides what is exactly needed for enterprises. Cheap prices for the operation, together with reliability of the systems, so that the enterprises know that on this infrastructure, everything will continue to work no matter what. In fact, over the weekend, we have seen a major market crash, or it's also called meltdown or tariff meltdown. And the Near protocol's tech stack that is called Near Intents, the cross-chain interoperability stack on top of which Calyx is built, has seen no downtime. Things were working absolutely as expected. There were some incidents that were connected with the operation of market makers, just because they have been relying on the centralized exchanges, which fall apart. Besides that, the protocol had no issues, and all of the transactions have been processed accordingly. That was just one of the examples of the reliability of the solution. And this is very, very important for businesses.
God. Hello.
Yeah, Mike.
Sorry, I always have fun with the phones here. Somebody decided to call me on WhatsApp, and so now I realize it interrupts.
It does not. You're still with us.
Yeah. Fortunately, just let me tell this guy to stop it, and the wonders of technology. We're getting lots of questions here, and a number of people are saying, why don't we get more brands on here, trying to understand what this is about, because it sounds very compelling. So on that basis, I'm going to transition over to Sam, and what I'm going to ask Sam is, what are the current challenges that you think both brands and retailers face, and why is collaboration necessary? Sam, you're on mute.
Yep, there we go. Mike, yeah, thanks. No, that's a great topic. So I spent my entire career, I would say the last 25 years, helping, breaking down silos and helping companies collaborate around a single unified demand signal, something that there's a lot of, great stats, mathematics that we've actually been working with academia on that allows us to produce one demand signal from the lowest to the highest level in the geoprod channel hierarchy with all of the different levers in each of the nodes, across all of those hierarchies, right? So this is something that we've been working on for a good 25 years. What has since changed, right, is now instead of just having this one demand signal that makes its way across the different functions, be it in a CPG or retail, plus across companies. Through agentic AI, we now actually democratize the signal not only across the analytics, across each of those functions, but across every associate within the enterprise and your suppliers as well. And now it's a whole lot easier to bring in new data, register that data, and actually figure out who you're going to share that data with, not only in the organization but outside of the organization as well, right? So even today, why are we concerned about this demand signal? As we say, if you're a retailer in CPG, you're really either measuring or shaping demand, right? You're trying to understand what's coming at you, or you're trying to shape that demand to actually meet the goals of the organization. If you're not doing that, and you're working for a retailer or a consumer brand, I would question what is your role in that organization, right? So how does this come up, right? So if you think about, let's take one retail example, one CPG example. So on the retail side, you could be going through a planning process that could be pre-season and open to buy in season, and you are working with one demand signal. Yet, however, in pricing, you're working with something completely different, and then fulfillment with something completely different, and from an operation standpoint, yet a whole lot. A different demand signal, and what happens is oftentimes you see situations where you promote certain items and you have empty shelves. You have a consumer who walks in, and not only what you've done is just give up margin, you've really done a number on the consumer experience as well. But this is just one example. Of what goes wrong with working on, with multiple demand signals instead of one across the enterprise, right? The other one where the collaboration becomes very important. And we've seen this across multiple retailers and CPGs, but a particular example where we worked with a retailer to make their demand signal, their promotional schemas, everything available to their suppliers, right? And then with a particular window, 6 and sometimes even 12 months, where the suppliers can actually see exactly what's coming down the pipe, exactly what they need to have, and they start to share the signal back with them in terms of, here's what we can provide you, here's where the gaps in supply will come, and well ahead of time, the retailer can actually pivot where there may be issues with supply, right? Before, however, that was really an analyst or a signal talking to a signal. Now through agentic AI and through generative AI, now that power is in the hands of every associate in the organization. They can go in plain whatever English, Spanish, whatever language they want, start to ask about, where do I have my supply constraints, run different scenarios in terms of, I'm not meeting my goals, I'm $2 million under, what levers can I pull and how can I pull them, right, in such a way that I stay within the constraints of all of these different functions, but but get closer to my goals or exceed the goals laid out by the organization.
Got it. Hey, I'm just going to do a quick interrupt here as we're moving on. Alex, there's several questions about how can you really prove that the data is secure and governed appropriately, and what are your plans for 2026?
So if we're talking about the NIR's approach on the confidential machine learning, so the thing here is, well, we are getting these attestations from the manufacturers of the hardware. So we're talking here NVIDIA, Intel, AMD, and they are providing these attestations. So the manufacturers is putting some specific things in the silicon to be able to check whether there is this specific mode of execution of the things. And yeah, that's the core part of it, how they are manufacturing these silicons. By the way, the very similar things are working for example, for Apple silicon. And inside of your iPhone, you are having the secure chip that is storing this additional data. For example, the information about your passkeys that you're using to log into particular websites is located there in that secure chip. So it's the manufacturers of the hardware who are the final point of trust here. However, you are able to remove this reliance on a single provider through a technique that is called MPC, multi-party computation, and secrets, for example, for decoding of this encrypted data, can be shared across multiple participants. And in case these participants are working on different hardwares that are manufactured by different manufacturers, now the secret is shared. So there is no single party that is able to attack the system and retrieve the data.
Got it, thanks. We've got an awful lot of pretty technical questions coming here, so I'm going to suggest we take note of them and get back to people with some of the answers. So sorry that you're leaving us, but thanks for staying with us for a while, Alex. Appreciate your time demands. Sam, if you want to come back and just in a couple of minutes now, it would be great to talk a little bit about how you're using agents and what are the specific benefits that you're seeing from a P&L perspective through this agentic process.
Right. So I think I talked a little bit about the democratization of the analytics, right? So we're dealing with this one the demand signal, right? But now instead of so let's talk about what used to be the case, right? So if someone's sitting in financial planning or any of the other functions would need to understand if they can actually roll out a particular initiative and involve with them taking an analyst, explaining certain things to an analyst, having them go back, perform some analysis, interact with a number of different groups, come back only to understand that that's not exactly the way that initiative was laid out, right? And the process repeats itself, and 2-3 weeks later, you have something that you could perhaps move or not move with. Versus now, an associate can actually, all those agents, those functions, that analytics is available to them through plain English, right? Where they can actually start to ask through these, just ask these agents about running specific simulations. Have those agents, right, for planning interact with the agents from replenishment and pricing and operations, and understand that if they do roll out with some process, what type of constraints are they going to run into, right? And then come back to them with, within hours and sometimes within minutes, come back to them with, here are the things that you can move forward with. And so the agility of that organization, is improved many-fold. Of course, leading to significant improvements in everything from margin if you're talking about finance to OTIF if you're talking about supply chain.
Got it. Thank you. Hey, Gary, we're going to move on to you. Your topic's personalization. So if you can give us some points of view If you can go on mute. Well, let me see. Okay, if you can talk a little bit about personalization challenges and why is collaboration necessary?
And I assume you can hear me okay, Mike?
Yeah, it's good.
Okay, perfect. So in terms of challenges, I think there are several key challenges here that I'm seeing when it comes to personalization. The first is retailers not having enough data, which is in some cases hard to believe given how much data is out there in the world today. But I'm still struck by the number of retailers that do not have a good amount of and good quality shopper data, shopper identified transaction data. The second challenge right behind that would be this notion of data silos. Even within the marketing department, we see customer related data split up oftentimes across multiple different systems, making it very difficult to bring together to create a cohesive view of that individual. The third is something that's arising more recently, but it's helping trading partners, vendors and CPGs in particular, understand, measure, and activate against this notion of brand level customer lifetime value, right? Because, today, really for the first time, retailers can work and help educate their brand partners around a brand customer value, right, over time, and letting that drive new measures, letting that drive new actions and how they go to market. Yeah, you're muted, Mike.
Sorry, thanks, Gary. I'm not sure if you can give some specific examples of how people should be thinking about personalization and collaborating across groups.
Well, so in terms of examples, I think before that, I think it's worth spending just a minute on, why is this collaboration across, vendors and CPG trading partners, even agencies and even internal collaboration. Why is this so important? And, in retail, and certainly in fast moving consumer goods retail, retailers have long relied on trade promotion dollars, right? You look at any grocery retailer, they typically are not going to be profitable were it not for trade promotion funds that they are getting. And we can throw into that bucket shopper marketing funds. So when that runs up against personalization, we really need to be thinking about how can those trade funds be repurposed to support personalization at the true customer level, and at the same time help achieve the brand goals within that retailer. In terms, so thinking of that as sort of the foundation, then thinking of different examples. I can think of one example from my own experience back when I was an active retailer, leveraging loyalty data, all this new world of shopper data and capabilities. We worked with Pepsi around a program to do just what I was speaking of, repurposing trade dollars and, rewarding at a brand level and retail level customer behavior, right? So instead of, for example, price promoting Pepsi products, we began to reward the shopper in a period of time over their Pepsi purchases, both in terms of dollars and units purchased. And, by doing that, drove significant increases, both for Pepsi as the brand, but also for us as the retailer, in doing that much, much more profitably. Another example, I'm thinking of a well-known regional retailer that has leveraged AI and automation in marketing and personalization. This retailer used to have a team of 4 or 5 people focused on building campaigns for their gold customers. And it would take this team approximately a month to create the audiences, create offer pools, do the targeting. Once that was done, match that up against their budgets. Typically had to go back, rework that to get it to align with budgets. Once that was finalized, transfer all that over into their email system, build those promotions in their point of sale system, and so on. When they moved to leveraging AI automation, a couple things happened. One was they were able to go from a team of 4 or 5 people full time for 30 days to do a campaign to one person in just a few hours to conduct a campaign. The other side of that, though, was by leveraging AI better, they were getting much, much more effective personalization that resulted in far greater shopper engagement with emails, with their website and mobile app, and far greater results in terms of basket sizes, spending increases, frequency increases, and so on.
And I'm presuming with AI, just a minute, there's going to be a continual improvement through training and learning.
More that AI system, is able to understand about that shopper, and it includes how they respond to different campaigns, different offers being made, and so on. Absolutely, that AI system continues to learn and improve.
Got it. Thank you. Jim, we're going to switch over to you. If you wouldn't mind, tell us a little bit about what your challenges are in your business and why is collaboration necessary? You're on mute, Jim. I think you're good now.
Okay. Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, sorry about that. Greetings, everyone. Thanks for having me here. There's, in short of it, right, we're in the business, we call it agentic-centric retail media measurement. Kind of sounds trendy, I know, but what we really do is help advertisers and retailers optimize their retail media as well as their broader marketing investments, right? So to do that, we need to integrate data, we need to acquire and integrate data, evaluate performance, and then, optimize it across a very, as a lot of folks have already mentioned, a very fragmented data landscape. So, specifically, one of the biggest issues is just plain and simple collaboration. There are a lot of parties here. We have advertisers, we have retailers, we have analytics firms like ourselves, and we have even other third-party data providers. And the simple truth is no single player in this ecosystem has the full picture. Advertisers have campaign and spend data. Well, we need that. The retailers have the purchase and the shopper data. Well, we need that. And we need people like ourselves and other analytics firms who bring them together and have the models that produce the outputs that create the optimization, right? So the only way to get a true attribution or more so, right, true incrementality of what happens when people spend money across retail networks is to explicitly connect these spending all the way through who, when, and where they purchased it, right? And the only way to do that is get all this data together, and to me that's called collaboration, right? So that's a big thing. The other thing is really just shared data and privacy issues, right? Which are not only constraints, Mike, but it's actually a real source of tension, particularly between retailers and CPGs. I mean, the retailers have the gold standard. They own the first party purchase data, right? But because of legal constraints, there's some things they just can't do legally with the data, but more so, they have a real reluctance to share their purchase data, simply because their own paranoia about other competitors finding out what they may be doing. So, and I think Gary mentioned and others, data silos, that actually creates measurement silos for us, right? Because, everybody and their brother seems to have a retail media network today, but Amazon is running programs, Walmart, Target, but they each operate their own retail media network independently. So an advertiser just cannot get a holistic view of performance If they do, they're using somebody like us, but I'll be quite honest, we're doing like some really cool things, but it could get a lot better, right? So that's kind of like short of it.
Got it. And what do you think your solution does to be able to improve that condition?
I think, I mean, first of all, I'm really excited and intrigued about some of the technologies I'm hearing, and I want to learn more about them. But what we're really doing is, look, we're doing what we can. So there are kind of two pieces to it, right? As best we can, we leverage everybody's existing ecosystems, but either are using their clean rooms or creating our own kind of, as secure as they can be data clean rooms, right? So what it does is it solves the problem of getting all the data in one place. So we become the common collection place for the retailer data, advertiser, and others data. We also kind of standardize and translate, if you will, that data. And what I mean by that is everybody's system is different. Everybody sends data and storing data in different formats. So we have to basically collect it all, make sure it's secure, kind of wrangle it and integrate it, right? So that we create a common framework so advertisers can really understand how their products perform across every retail media network that they're spending money in, even though everybody is kind of siloed with it and doing data, so to speak, in their own way, right? So, and to do that, if I can go on for 30 seconds, I mean, to do that, I mean, we're home growing again, but are really looking to improve our own agentic AI. So, we have a system of specialized agents that we really call them the Fab Four, right? So John, Paul, George, and Ringo. We don't know who is who yet, but what they really do are four things for us, right? We have a data integration agent which really kind of consolidates the unique and APIs across all the retailers, so as I said, right? So we can get all this data together. Once we have this data, we've been in our modeling process. We have a pattern recognition agent, right? And that agent, really lets us align the investments and correlate them and report the outcomes that they're driving in terms of incremental sales. We have a predictive agent, right? That agent takes the handoff from the model and runs literally millions of simulations about what "quote unquote" better would look like. What's a better way to allocate your marketing investments to drive the outcomes you're interested in, and ultimately that ends in a few optimized scenarios, right, where we can now report back as to what's working well and what isn't, and in pretty much near real time, right, an advertiser can kind of rebalance that investment and drive more significant results.
Super, thanks, Jim. Hey, Tony, we're going to move on to you. If you'd like to talk a little bit about how you're using agents to overcome the challenges of people hiring agencies to be able to drive work, and then how you're making people and companies far more efficient in terms of dealing with questions that come up and what the implications are on that from a cooperation perspective.
Yeah, Mike, let's go. All right. So there's a lot of cool stuff here. I think, when we talk to clients, the big, core concerns are, I'm trying to do more with less. I'm trying to not get my ear flicked by the security team. And, I'm trying to figure out, how do I use AI? And so, that's kind of the point where people are dipping their toe in the water, trying to figure out, hey, is the warm nice? Is the water nice and warm? The reality is, their data and the process suck, and they know that, right? So they're trying to work around those issues where they know they don't have great data. We kind of talked about, I think Jim and a few others are kind of talking about grandmother's closet of data, right? There's a bunch of garbage in there you can't use. And so, I think customers are trying to figure that out. So the first step is kind of walking through, just using a generative AI. Let's figure this out. I mean, we've got customers that are walking through going, I got 7 different instances of where I talk about my hours of my retail location, and they're all different. as an example, walk through, find data, clean up, QC, use it for that. I think that's the first natural step. Then we get into agentics with customers. We obviously have a social media solution that's fully autonomous that is running social media campaigns for a lot of companies right now. They love it. It's in their brand tone, brand voice. We're doing a brand clone and a persona clone, injecting it back in the AI. So we have a brand ambassador doing literally the social media post for them. They love it, right? But got to have clean data and good processes. So I think that's the first step.
Tony, I just want to be clear. You're not doing it. The agents are doing all that work around
The
brand.
agents are doing that work. Yeah.
You just want to clear how you do that?
Yeah. So, we're a pure AI company. So we've got 25,000 hours of workload being done each week on agentics for Brown Bacon AI and for our clients. And so, that's, when you think about that, that's crazy. But the reality is, once we light this up for clients and they see it in motion, they're pretty blown away. So that could be as simple as, for instance, hey, I want you to run my social media post, 2x a day. Great, done. And there's obviously not one, but many agentic AIs tied together. Some of those are doing triggers of notifications to say, hey, this was posted for you and this is what it looks like. Some of those are actually building the post. But, we get into other simple applications, right, that most people can understand, where a customer sends in an email and says, hey, I really like to add this thing to the order. I just placed the order. I kind of forgot. If we have a human involved, there's a lag of 5 to 15 minutes minimum, right, before that happens. Meanwhile, the order is processing. And so being able to tie that in with an agentic system where it says, got it, no problem, recognize the email, pull up the account. Yep, you're logged in. Let me log in and go ahead and update that order for you. Man, what an efficiency gain that is. That's hours, per day that customers can pick up. So I think some of those simple solutions, but, when we start tying these things together in a, kind of a layman's architecture, we start saying, hey, that email could kick off, make the correction on the system, push up chain to an external third-party supplier who's actually doing the fulfillment and shipping for us, link that up, update that system as well. Otherwise, you still have some manual stuff in the middle that needs to happen.
So intra-company and cross-country is definitely important. And when you're doing this kind of work, you're fundamentally changing the amount of volume in terms of calls that you're getting. And so how do you tie that into the supply chain side of things?
Yeah, I'll plug one of our customers, Ashland Brewing Company. They fired up massive. It's a 5.5 acre, 15,000 square foot facility. They do over 2,200 people a day through the place. And their opening day, we did 1,000 questions in an 8-hour period. This is a generative AI, right? Just questions and answers. There is no physical way you could staff for that, period, right? And that alone was a $10,000 ROI day one, right? Just because we now have a system that has unlimited scaling that can do that. So I think that's a simple example. You start adding in the agentics where it's also doing things like, hey, why don't we go ahead and set up a reservation for you? Wow, now we're compounding that ROI capability with every step we take in the agentics and every linkage we add on.
Right. So as I listen to you, it sounds like you're starting with the demand side, but then you're increasingly getting to customer experience and increasingly getting to the supply side and tying it all together, but you're doing it one step at a time. Just talk a little bit about the experience you've had with agencies and what the implications are for agencies, again, in the cross-company world.
Yeah, so I mean, full disclosure, we are only a private AI, SOC 2, Type 2, HIPAA compliant, GDPR. We have zero memory retrain, zero back train. So I think one of the other speakers was talking about some memory retention and being able to learn. Our clients really don't want to do that, right? Because not only are they trying to straighten out their data and their processes and trying to get accurate information to customers in that moment, they don't want the Rubik's Cube fighting back on them right at the same time and going, oh, I'm now smarter, let me answer it this way for you. They want some modicum of control. So I think when we go and talk to agencies, they don't understand any of that. They are marketing agencies. So when we walk in and say, hey, we can go ahead and do a 50,000 brand and persona analysis of this company, look at the target customer personas of who we are going after from a customer, rebuild out the entire brand, all the brand messaging and all of that, and do that in, 2 minutes. It freaks them out. And we had probably one of the most caustic, hostile meetings I've ever had with a good friend who owns a very large agency. His team was just absolutely freaked out, and they just don't understand the technology. And so their reaction was, we're just going to continue to use Gemini or ChatGPT, right? Which I'm like, what? You're breaching all the internal marketing and strategy information back into a public AI, right? So I think those are the big challenges we see that we're seeing with agencies. On the other side, we have some very forward-thinking agencies that we're working with out in Napa Valley, as an example, with some of our Napa Valley wineries, and they're all in. I mean, they're like, "This is fantastic! Like, let's go to market together." So, I mean, I really think it depends on the agency. The old school mindset of, everybody needs to spend $150,000 to do brand and persona development. But at the same time, we relaunched an entire brand in 3 days, rewrote all their content on their site, entire brand messaging, all their major and minor brand messaging pieces, cut videos, and updated all their SEO in 3 days. That would have been $200,000 worth of work.
Got it. Great. We're now going to go to questions. But thanks. I think you're seeing a common theme of being able to move faster, move more intelligently, and lower cost. And yet at the same time, this is a transformative kind of proposition. So you've got to have a crawl, walk, run approach so you don't get indigestion taking too much. Eric, one of the questions that keeps coming up is a little bit about Intellex and its community. And when did it start? Where is it going? And what are the implications for 2026? Because people seem to be very interested in what this is.
Yeah, so I think part of what everyone on the panel has talked about, which is exciting, is some of the challenges, both with how do you deploy AI into an enterprise or into an enterprise supply chain or ecosystem. And then especially how do you deploy agents within that? And for a lot of people in the audience who may come out of a Web3 community, the way that that's traditionally done is you start by coming up with an idea, you create a community that's excited about that, and then you go out and develop tech and then hope you can sell it. And I'm proud to say that from the very beginning, Intellex did it the exact opposite. That what we recognized was a problem that this panel has talked about, which is, how does data get managed? How does it get labeled? How do you put together different data sets? How do you turn that data into some kind of institutional memory that's valuable? I mean, I think Tony, you were just speaking to this, the notion that everybody out there, every enterprise in the future is going to be using OpenAI means everybody's going to be using the same generic capabilities, right? There's going to be no differentiation. Right. And so, we've focused on this concept of agents needing to work together. And if you've ever worked with agents, as we have, I mean, the great thing about agents is they lie through their teeth. they're trying to do the best job they can. And sometimes they'll tell you that they performed a task and they haven't done it, or sometimes they've done it in a way that's, outside of the guardrails or the governance that you've established. And so managing agents, especially getting agents to move in the same direction, is really critically important. And that's the exciting thing about where we are right now, which is we have the tech, we have the customer relationships, we're implementing this, and now we want a community to get excited about it and join us. So, that means in engaging that community in perhaps some different ways than the audience is used to. So that's our background.
The follow-up to this is, to put it bluntly, why are you better than anybody else?
Well, I think, why is anybody better than anybody else? You've had experience with customers. You have tech that is unique and differentiated, and you have the history or the last 2 years of scars to be able to prove that you know how to be able to implement and be able to sell. And I think those are the three things that really are the key here in terms of being able to engage with large enterprises that need to be engaged in a particular way, right? I mean, the panel's talked about this, right? That there needs to be differentiation in terms of how you crawl, walk, run with enterprises that might be different than the way things work in other industries or other areas.
Got it. I'm going to ask Tony and Gary this question. Several people are asking about local brands versus the national brands, and so is this approach something that can be used at a local level?
Yeah, I'll speak at two different levels. Number one, I think we've got the big national brands that you see out there: OpenAI, Cohorn, Anthropic, Gemini, and Copilot or ChatGPT, right? And so I think it's important for people to understand those are all public models. The way they're configured, they're in public use. There's memory retention. I say there's data breach every time you use them. And so I think that's one way to look at the non-local brands. I say if we look at the more localized brands, like some of the folks that are on this call, which are small niche players really focused in on solving solutions or a solution. I think everybody should really be looking at best practices AI for their application. So if you're going for a particular application, find the AI that is going to solve that. That's going to be much more specialized, much more secure all the way around for customers than just saying, hey, I'm going to one AI to rule them all. That is not an answer. And I think everybody on here knows that there is no one AI that rules them all, right? Our policy is your data, your AI. So as an example, if you develop a brand new patent on our AI, which is your private instance, it's yours. We have no right to it. And so, I think those are the type of the things from a security perspective that, companies should start asking is, as I'm creating information in this AI, is it mine? Is it 100% mine, or is it kind of mine? Right. And I think that's one of the things they need to look at. The other piece is security, which is, Gemini and Copilot inside an enterprise license.
I think I'm going to move on to Gary to answer the question. You covered the ground pretty well there. I'm thinking about smaller retailers as well as brands.
So yeah, and I'll sort of build on what Tony was saying. I think there's a significant opportunity here for local vendors, brand manufacturers, and retailers, right, that tend to be smaller companies. Because they're smaller, they can be more nimble. And the ability to move fast today is critically important, right? Smaller companies can more easily get their hands around the kind of transformation that's needed to take advantage of all these new technologies and capability, right? As Mike, you and I have talked and I've written and spoken about, there's a massive transformation that is underway here across the supply chain. Retailers, manufacturers, distributors, everyone. in terms of culture, organizational structure, and technology. And the big piece of this is, letting go of, gee, we've always done it this way, and being able to really take advantage of and leverage these new capabilities. And I think smaller local vendors and retailers have got a window of opportunity here.
Got it. And then, Jim, you're familiar with Ripple. Can you give a quick 30-second on how that's a collaborative entity that crosses advertisers and small retailers? You're on mute, Jim. There you go.
I'm good. Yeah, you had me muted. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Ripple. I mean, it's just picking up on what Tony and Gary were talking about. I mean, it really is, a collective, across retailers and retail media networks, the best of both worlds. So you have a lot of smaller tier players, but who do, but are, now together under one umbrella. But they're still small, which means they still are able to, maintain the agility that Gary was talking about, and have the ability, now banded together with other retailers to have potential scale as well with that, right? So, what happens is, if you can combine somebody like a Ripple with the technologies we're talking about here, where we're really facilitating secure data transfer and data sharing, and all these smaller retailers now can play on a playing field at the level of like an Amazon or a Walmart. I mean, it's a big game changer. It's a game changer for them, and it's a game changer. It's a win for the whole industry because both from the retailer and the advertiser, just increases the transparency and visibility. And from our standpoint, I mean, the ability to get true representative measurement of all the in-network activities.
Thank you, Jim. Hey, Eric, could you talk a little bit about which industries you think are most applicable for this?
Yeah, I mean, I think I just would call out what the panel has already said. I mean, it obviously is consumer goods manufacturing. It's retail. I think for many people in the audience who are used to hearing about decentralized AI, and really believe in that vision, it may be hard to take that vision and overlay it on top of what the panel has said today, because the panel hasn't used that language. But when Tony's talking about it's your AI, I mean, what he's really talking about is the fact that corporations or enterprises want to be able to figure out how to use or ignore the lack of value that an open AI or an Anthropic would deliver for the kinds of solutions that he's talking about. And instead, how important it is that an enterprise can control their own AI. Or Jim just got what Jim just said a moment ago, I think is really a good thing, which is how do small enterprises obtain competitive advantage, but at the same time know that they can't do things by themselves just in terms of the cost or the ability to scale. So I think there's certainly huge opportunities that we're seeing in the small to medium sized markets, especially in retail. I think somebody in the comment section said earlier, this is a game changer in retail advertising when we're talking about retail media networks. The audience may not know what those are, but it's essentially manufacturers paying to be on a retailer's website and being able to advertise. I mean, those are the kinds of things that I think are going to see huge opportunities for value creation using agentic collaboration.
Got it. And then the final question, Eric, is for you. What are the biggest breakthroughs you've seen so far in agent swarms, and how do you plan to scale that to an enterprise level by the end of 2026?
Well, I think that there's some, there's really you're seeing two different solution types in the agentic world. One is the ability to automate workflows that might already exist or that you'd like to exist. And as Tony said, you can't afford to hire against those workflows because it would break the bank, right? So those are automations of workflows that are pretty important, and they're going to drive some significant cost savings in the future. But the second is, how do you put agents together and sort of let them, with human in the loop, go off and try to solve problems that have previously never been solved or are going to be solved in a new way. And those, whether you call them an agent swarm, you call them multi-agent systems, those are where you're going to see some significant impact on the enterprise. You look at a lot of the research studies, our own experience, you're going to see huge improvements in the speed of problem solving and the kinds of solutions that are being generated. Right now, the agent frameworks that are out there, the multi-agent frameworks that are out there, or agent swarms, are really designed to operate within silos. And what we're trying to do with Intellex is to say, how do you take those multi-agent system frameworks and move them to cross-silo or cross-company capabilities where privacy, security, governance becomes more important, and just the ability to speak the same language becomes absolutely critical. So I think you're beginning to see certainly the large players. We hope to be a significant innovator in this space, but focused very specifically on business needs rather than technologies. But you're going to see some significant changes and advances over the next 6 months. We're already seeing it right now.
Got it. Well, as Sam's always saying to me, you got to watch things week by week because things are changing that fast. And I think when we've all talked about this before, you cannot be a bystander. You have to get in the game. Otherwise, there's going to be a survival issue over the next couple of years if you're not up and running against other players who are fast, agile, low cost, and are making better decisions. Thanks everybody for participating this afternoon on the panelist side. Thanks everybody who joined in this community session. Watch this space. You'll never know. We might be doing more. Thank you so much.